Hi, and welcome to video 4 of our series on projects, tibbles, and importing data. Today we're going to talk about parsing vectors. Now there are parse, underscore, whatever functions that take a character vector as an argument with an optional NA argument that specifies which strings to treat as missing. These are the building blocks inside of readr. So for instance, let me just show you an example. If I do parse integer of this set of characters, and I say NA is NA, right? Then it tells me, okay, they had two problems. So there are warnings that show up, and I can look at the problems with parsing by just doing problems of X. Oops, if I spell it right. And it will tell me where it encountered a problem. It encountered a problem in row 2. It expected no trailing characters, and it actually had a 0.23. And in row 3, it expected an integer, and it had ABC. So this, of course, in a small vector like this, you don't need that sort of thing. But when you're doing thousands and thousands or millions of rows, then you do need those helper functions to look at where the problems are. So we have important parsers. Some of the more important parsers are parse logical and parse integer, parse double and parse number, parse character, parse factor, and then some for date and time. So in this mini module, we will go through the first several in some detail. So if I have a vector that has all logical things. So suppose I have T's, F's, trues, and falses. I didn't get any parse errors, any problems, and if I look at those, it converts those to trues and falses. So that's how parse logical will work. Parse double, I can do, if I did parse double of that character, it's going to give me the number. It also allows for a different sort of decimal mark to do different standards around the world. So for instance, in Europe and some places they use the comma instead of the period for a decimal mark. So it also ignores parse number is similar, right? I can do parse number instead of parse double. And it ignores things like the commas and so forth. I could instead say, let me get a different one. I can say the grouping mark and the decimal mark. One of the really handy things with parse number, and you'll run into this frequently, is you have a data set that's got some other things like percent signs, dollar signs, so forth. If you do that with parse number, it will ignore everything that's not numeric when you read it in. Okay, so that's how parse double and parse number work. Let's look now at parse character. So sometimes you will read in something that has some strange symbols in it. Okay, so here's an X1 and an X2 that we will set in. Oops, make that X2. Okay, and so if I said, well, I'm going to see if that is correct and see what that does. Ah, look, it gave me back, I'm not sure what language that is. I can also do a guess encoding of character to raw. So this says, it thinks it's this one, ISO 8859-1. We could use that with encoding and see if that does in fact, yes, that's what it was. If I did guess encoding of the second one, the X2, let's see what that comes up with. Well, it thinks it's that one. Let's see if that works. That did not work. Okay, so sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. If I do a list of factors, for instance, let's call this genders, and I'll have male, female, and other. And if it then did parse factor of a data set that has some of those in it and said those are the levels that I want, it's going to come back with, oh, so this one was wrong, right? Row 1, because it saw M-A-A-L-E. And this one was wrong because it didn't have the capitalized M. I don't know if that would work if we did case ignore, but that would be worth you checking out to see, could you set up is there an option you can set for case ignore and have it ignore the case when you do that. Okay, we will come back and talk in the next module about parsing dates.